What is up, guys? Alex McDonald, joined by Larry Cox. What's up, Larry?
Al, I'm here alive and breathing in stormy Rockdale County.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we've got a little band of weather moving through. Hopefully this remains reliable and remains live. However, right up front, just in case it doesn't, over on my Facebook page right now, This Week in Rockdale. Obviously, we're live streaming, but I just posted a link. The image isn't showing up, but I just posted a link to the entire series over on my YouTube channel. That will take you over to here, This Week in Rockdale on YouTube. By the way, you can subscribe to that if you choose to, but all the videos are there. And there's also a playlist set up for it. And if you click on View Full Playlist, it will have all of the episodes in order for you to, well, if you want to share. You can share the entire playlist or you can share individual episodes. That's entirely up to y'all. But it's all there on YouTube. It went live, so you can check it out there. Theoretically, this show will stay live and we'll play episode 5 during this show, right?
Theoretically.
I also have England on over here. England, Mexico is about to kick off, so I'm going to have that off to the side here. Hopefully it won't be too distracting, but if there's a goal, it might be. Happy Independence Day, everybody. For yesterday, hopefully everybody had a really nice day, really nice time with friends and family. Larry, what did you get up to, brother?
You know, actually what I did, Alex, is Beth and I went and watched a movie called Young Washington.
Okay.
About George Washington. It was a very good movie. It was a movie about his young life, about when his aspiration was to be a commissioned British soldier, which he couldn't because he was not a subject of the crown.
Okay.
He was not born there, so they said, you can't be. And it's interesting, when he finally did, you watch the movie and you see how the colonials wore those blue uniforms, right?
Yes.
They'd wear red uniforms, but Washington and his Virginians performed so well against the French. He had one request when they gave him his commission, not as in the royal military, but as a colonist. His one request was that they had blue uniforms.
Okay, interesting.
Yes,
I did a very American thing. I went over to the gun club and did a bunch of shooting, did a bunch of practice, a bunch of training, and had a blast over there. Primarily, I put a new optic on my on one of my rifles, so I was over there getting that zeroed. And while I was there, I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna run through. I went through my own course and was there for quite a while. It was hot, but it was fun. It was worth doing. And then I watched a bit of America 250 on the TV last night, and apparently. Look, I don't know whether this is 100% accurate or not. Apparently, it was the largest fireworks display in history. 850,000 individual fireworks were let off last night, and it wouldn't surprise me because it was impressive. It was very impressive. Don't know if you got to see any of that.
A little bit. 250 years is an impressive milestone, but one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is how young a nation America is compared to other nations in this world.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Mary says, thanks for doing that, Alex. Yeah, no worries. This Week in Rockdale on YouTube. You can find it there. I have like 6 subscribers over there because I don't use the channel for anything. But I thought it would be a useful place to put these videos. It's much easier to find them on YouTube in a playlist than it is on Facebook. Facebook do not make it easy.
No, and then all mine go to YouTube, Al, and they don't, YouTube doesn't do the deleting thing and all that and everything either.
Right. Let's say hi.
Okay,
say hi to some friends. Vuko's here. What's up, Vuko? Good to see you. Mary Boysworth. Hey, Mary. Cheryl and Ben are here. What's up, guys? Good to see you. Or Ben and Cheryl, whichever you prefer. Whichever you guys prefer. Bill Campbell, Semper Fi. Bill, good to see you. Cheryl Malton is here. What's up, Cheryl? And James is here. What's up, brother? Joan Powell. What's up, Joan? Charlotte Gellert. Happy July 5th. Happy July 5th to you, Charlotte Gellert. Good to see you. Danielle. What's up, Danny? Catherine Lynn. What's up, Catherine? Charlotte says she watched some of the Macy's fireworks. Didn't find the 250 fireworks. I saw it on YouTube. I was watching on YouTube, generally a good place to find stuff like that. I don't know if you have YouTube, Charlotte, but keep that in mind. When we have these large national events, they generally stream them on either on the White House YouTube channel itself, or one of the news organizations is streaming to YouTube. But yeah, no, thank you everybody for tuning in. Jump into the comments. Let's hear what you did for the 4th of July. We will be playing the 5th and final episode of our data center series, talking about the selfish part. What's in it for me? What's in it for us? What's in it for the taxpayers of Rockdale County, right, Larry?
Exactly. I mean, and I think that's the main thing, Al. Why? You know what I mean? And I think you're going to hear the why.
Yeah, I think I think the guests we've had on have been able to address a lot of the concerns.
I think they've been able to address the why not.
Yeah, they've addressed a lot of the concerns people had, and hopefully have maybe dispelled some myths naturally, but also maybe put people a little bit more at ease about data centers coming here. And so now the question is, well, if we do open our doors to them, what do we get? We know what they get out of it, right? They get to operate a business. They get to use our power grid. They get to use our water systems, neither of which will be overly taxed as people thought prior to this series. And they get to make money and profit off of running a business out of Rockdale County. So what do we get? And that's what we're going to talk about. Now, of course, there are no experts for this show. It's just for this episode. It's just Larry and I. But we are pulling in real world numbers from places where this has actually taken place. So we're not just pulling numbers out of our, out of our behinds and saying, well, this is what's going to happen. We're looking at areas where this has actually happened and using those as an example of the potential for this.
And some projections here that our own tax officials have.
Precisely. Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows what the intention was. Don't need to go over it again. I think we stuck to the plan, what we wanted to do, and now it's time to wrap it up. So if you want to, Larry, we'll just go ahead and play the episode, yeah?
I think that's good, and then we'll come back and do a little bit of talking after.
All right, here we go. If you've been watching this series, you've heard a lot. You've heard from acoustic engineers, water experts, utility regulators. We've covered noise, water use, power costs, and what the people writing the rules are actually doing to protect you. We did all of that because we wanted you to have the same information the people making these decisions have, not just talking points, not a sales pitch, just the facts from people who know what they're talking about. Now, if you live in Rockdale, you've also heard from the opposition. They've been loud. They've shown up to meetings. They've posted online. And they've made sure that their concerns are on the record. And that's how this is supposed to work. Now, whether those concerns are grounded in reality, well, now you have a basis of comparison. Now you get to decide after hearing from our experts. You've now heard the bigger picture. But there's one conversation that's been almost completely missing from this entire debate, and that's the one about What's actually in it for you, the homeowner, the taxpayer, the person writing that check, that property tax check every year? We've saved that conversation for last on purpose. We wanted you to hear from the experts first. And now that you have, it's time to talk about the part of this that hits closest to home. So let's get into it. So Larry, the benefits, that's what we're here to talk about. Let's start with taxes, because I mean, that's the biggie, right? That's the one that everybody, that's the thing that everyone in Rockdale is concerned about. So let's talk about the potential benefits to the taxpayer from data centers. What have you found out?
Well, Alex, I was at Representative Rhonda Taylor's town hall this past weekend, and she actually had the two people there that could let you know what that would actually look like. She had Tisha Smart Washington, and she had Will Barkley there.
Right.
And they deal with our taxes in Rockdale County, specifically Will Barkley, the assessor, who has those numbers readily available and the percents of what we're looking at. So right now, if we look at what the tax base in Rockdale County is versus residential and commercial, we're at 68% residential, 32% commercial, and that's the percent that is paid into our tax digest. Mr. Barkley gave some numbers that if when DC Blocks is 100% online and we would get this additional data center, it would reverse the numbers from 68% residential to that being 32% residential. And then the commercial, which is, if the commercial would go, my bad, it would go 54% commercial, 46% or 44% residential. And that would be going from 32 to 54 with that commercial. Al, that's game changing in Rockdale County.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complete 180.
It's game changing, right? But not only with that, I think with that kind of revenue coming in, we could do a lot of things here as far as what we could do with millage rates and what we could do with lowering, not only millage rate lowering, but lowering taxes altogether.
Yeah, I agree. Assuming the county do the right thing with the money, I agree. And it's worth looking again. So this is all proposed, hypothetical almost for Rockdale, because we haven't done this before. This would be our first foray into data centers. So I think it's worth looking at some of our neighbors to see what has happened to them. And,
Covington.
Well, go ahead. What's happening in Covington? Let's explain that.
The city of Covington, actually, they've got I believe it's Amazon.
Meta.
Well, no, they've got Google actually is going to do a data center there.
Oh, okay.
My bad. So Google is doing a data center there, and Tim Fleming introduced legislation this year, which was sponsored by the city of Covington, that they are going to do a pilot program, which is they start that instead of paying taxes with their abatements and stuff, right? This pilot program is going to be payments. They are going to pay these citizens taxes up front. There's going to be legislation on the ballot this November, and this people who live in the city of Covington will be property tax free. They will pay no property taxes if you live in the city of Covington.
Right. And
that's going to be financed through a data center.
Nice. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened yet. That's again for the future.
Well, so but it's on the ballot in November.
No, I understand. Yes. But I want to look at real world examples where this has actually happened. And Virginia is a great example. Loudoun County, yes. They have been able to reduce their property tax rates every year for a decade now by over 40%, from $1.14 per $100 in assessed value to 80 cents per $100 in assessed value. And without this revenue from data centers, the officials there, they say that they would have actually have needed to raise taxes anywhere from 30 to 90% in order to maintain current service levels.
And Alex, if you have seen there too, you mentioned it, they actually run a surplus every year too.
Right. But instead of having to raise taxes, they've been able to lower them. And now the average homeowner on a median value home, they're paying an average of $5,800 less per year in property taxes as a direct result of data center revenue. That's a real world example of how this revenue can benefit taxpayers. It's
well, I mean,
it has huge potential.
That is real world, and I actually look at the other one as real world. Alex, is they're going to vote in November, and they're going to be tax free in Covington.
Yeah, I mean the revenue has to start coming in, I would assume.
Yeah, yes, it is, and that it's going to be it starts next year.
Yeah,
right. So I mean that's that's crazy that these turnarounds can happen like that. And Lowndes County also, Alex, their budget. Here we borrow money from funds balance and all this and everything. They actually have extra revenue that they put in a funds balance instead of taking from a funds balance.
Yeah,
annually.
Yeah, and it's not just Loudoun. There's Prince William County. There's Culpeper. Prince William County. They collect $54 million in new revenue from data centers, and 21 million of that they've earmarked to offset residential property taxes. It's huge.
Yeah, and we can do the exact same thing here, and that's one of the things that that I would like to see. I would like to see this community business agreement signed up front to where it takes government out of it, right?
Yep.
These monies are earmarked. I usually don't like earmarks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I like this earmark, right? So you earmark those revenues, that upfront revenue, to go to that property tax relief, and you take it out of government's hand.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see at the Board of Education and with the city, because it doesn't tempt them to dip into the well.
I agree. Yeah, community benefit agreements with the revenue earmarked to specific sources is absolutely necessary, because we know, look, as concerned as people are about data centers, they should be way more concerned about government and government doing the right thing and spending the money the right way.
What I think I have seen through this series we're doing out, they're truly, the concerns that people have are minimal, right? In my opinion, they're all minimal and mitigatable.
Right.
And the big concern we do have is, how will this heavy influx of money coming into this community be spent to actually benefit the citizens? Now, I don't think 100% of that money needs to be earmarked to this, because the governments do need to function and they do need revenue, and increases do occur naturally. But that percent up front needs to go to tax relief.
Yeah, and with no games like messing with the host in order to try to show a savings to taxpayers.
No shifting dollars.
Yeah, no shifting dollars, and we will be keeping a very close eye on that as this process moves forward. I don't know if we should say this, but you've heard estimates of what this will bring.
Well, no, they're actually going to come out now. I mean, people have them right now. And then I went to a meeting last night, and there's going to be some town halls. These numbers have been released, and they're going to, I think here in about 4 weeks, there's going to be a town hall at Springfield, and these numbers are going to be out there. So I'll just, these are the numbers. And actually, the developer, they did a tax analysis study, and this is what it looks like. When DC Blocks' abatement fully runs out, and you've got this. If we get this other data center, the Board of Education, Alex, will be anywhere from $60 to $70 million with additional revenue, and the county will be probably around 50 to $60 million in additional revenue annually, and that money right there is game changing money when it comes to budgets for these government entities.
It sure is. There's another advantage to this type of industry as well. There are even more cost savings, revenue savings for this kind of industry compared to others. Data centers cost government about 4 cents per dollar in 4 cents per dollar in revenue collected in services. Am I making sense by saying that?
It does. It does. They're very low. They're low maintenance.
Very low maintenance. A typical business costs local government 25 cents per dollar in collected revenue in additional services. But that's one of the primary reasons, is the fact that these are low overhead. They're not packing the roads and schools with additional vehicles and additional people, and so it becomes a source of very cheap revenue, and that's important. That should matter.
It does matter, Al. I mean, we talked about this. If you put a distribution center or a manufacturing plant on that property, you're right. Then the county's going to have to be spending that 25, 30 cents.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Where here, there's nothing. I mean, it's very low maintenance, very low.
Very low maintenance. Again, to use a real world example, in Loudoun County, the analysis they did there showed that these data centers generate more than $26 in tax revenue for every dollar they receive back in services. That is a huge return on investment for the county.
Well, and then also, Al, we talked about these businesses, right? But support businesses actually end up moving to your area too, that to support the data centers. So you have additional business growth that's possible because of support business wanting to move there to be closer, so they don't have to, because transportation of goods is very costly these days. Mm-hmm. And they like to be close to these hubs of things that they're supplying to. So that's also something you look at, is additional businesses moving in that would support these businesses.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about jobs. So the Data Center Coalition, and I'll grant you this is an industry number, but they say the Data Center Coalition just in Georgia say that they pay more than $1.8 billion in state and local taxes, and that they support 176,000 jobs currently across Georgia. There are 63 active data centers in Georgia. 35 more are under construction, and there are 250 more announced. The data centers themselves, they don't offer as many jobs as, say, a warehouse or a distribution center, right? I think Project Rockforge, they're projecting over 200 jobs.
Over 200 jobs. And those are going to be jobs that are, the majority of them, over $80,000.
Yeah, they're going to be high-paid, well-paid jobs. But of course, if you were looking at an Amazon fulfillment center, they employ maybe 800 to 1,500 people, but at far lower wages, and also with a much greater strain on the county as a whole, with traffic, schools, things like that. So while data centers don't provide the same number of jobs, on a if you look at it on a per capita basis, there's actually more revenue in jobs from a data center than the entirety of an Amazon shipping center,
There would be.
with far less cost to the community as a whole. So, yeah, Rockforge is projecting. Over 200. We don't know an exact number, but they're estimating over 200 jobs there. That doesn't account for, of course, the construction jobs. And I know people say, well, those are just temporary. But we're looking at 4 years worth of temporary construction jobs. And that is a major boon to the construction industry.
It is a major boom out. And it also,
And these developers have said they will be contracting locally.
yeah. And then what I understand is that we have a local electrical company that has the work at DC Block right now.
Exactly.
And they also have the work at that battery factory, which is, I want to say, not connected at all to the data centers. And that's why they get a misconception there, right? Mm-hmm. But that local electrical company has picked that up. And what I was told is they will most likely pick up the additional data center campus because they are familiar with the processes and local and are beefing up their manpower to be able to handle. So they are increasing their staffing
exactly
to be able to handle the campuses.
Precisely. In fact, across Georgia as a whole, the data center industry has already created 28,000 plus construction jobs and 5,500 permanent operations jobs, which has added, those permanent jobs have added $823 million to the state economy. I mean, this industry provides a lot of benefits to a community and to the state as a whole, Larry.
Well, Al, we want to talk about providing not only to the, you're right, that providing to the community.
Mm-hmm.
So not only by paying taxes, but they also, and you can look at these in the places you talked about, Lowndes County, Prince William and all those, they invest in the school system there.
Right.
They invest in nonprofits there.
Right.
And, and then I've had conversations with some, the one end user here that will if everything's approved and comes with, this new development, they intend on investing quite heavily in the Rockdale County public school system.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, Al, and DC Blocks has already begun to contribute substantially to the Rockdale County public school systems. So these data centers, they actually do spend money in the community besides providing jobs and providing the increased tax base. They spend additional dollars in your community.
Yeah, 100%. Again, we have some real world examples of this. Again, I'm pointing to Virginia, but Mecklenburg County, $90 million in additional revenue from data centers, Larry, that they're using to build 3 schools. Three new schools just from the yearly revenue from data centers. Prince William County, they've earmarked money for schools. Of course, Loudoun County schools, I mean, there have been some issues there, but funding is not one of them.
Well, Al, I think, we've talked about property taxes in Rockdale County and especially, state of Georgia, not being a sustainable model to fund school systems, right?
Correct.
But if you reverse the tax digest, you get that burden off of residential homeowners, and it's on the back of business, and specifically business like data centers who can afford to pay those taxes, then it's much more palatable to the citizens.
Yeah.
And I think and it gives school districts the ability to actually be able to do things like you said. They're building 3 additional schools, right? Additional programs, actually attracting the teachers you want with pay structures that are very appealing to individuals to work in your district. I mean, I think that's the kind of things that you can do.
Yeah. Everybody's heard the negatives, the downsides of data centers, or what they perceive to be the downsides. I think we've addressed all of those in this series. What people aren't hearing are the benefits, and these are the benefits. Increased revenue at a low cost to the community. Jobs. Initially, they say short-term, I say long-term construction jobs. You know, these are long projects, and they sustain a lot of jobs. We have obviously potential tax breaks to property tax. The fact that we'll be able to flip our tax digest from primarily residential taxpayers to primarily commercial taxpayers, to flip that 180, turn it upside down on its head, and provide real tax breaks to to residential property taxpayers. These are huge benefits.
But you know, this just the significant is DC blocks did get the abatement, and I found some more things out about that, right? So we were apparently at that time competing with 3 counties to get DC blocks. And I'll tell you, nobody complained about this at that time. You know, Al, you and I talked about this the other day. Actually, that's during that same time period. People who were mad that Facebook didn't come to Rockdale County.
Yeah,
right?
People were upset that we weren't in part of that meta deal.
In year 3, when they're paying 20% of their tax base, they will be the highest paying tax entity, paying 20% in Rockdale County at year 3.
Right. And now people have been concerned about depreciation, and that as the abatement gets lowered, the value of the property and equipment will get lowered. I think that's an unfounded, maybe unnecessary concern, because data centers are upgrading and retrofitting their equipment every 5 years. So you know, their equipment value is going to fluctuate, but it's always going to be on the high side because they're swapping it out every 5 years.
Yeah, because if you're on an evaluation, a schedule of 5 to 7 years, and you're replacing stuff on a 5-year cycle, you never get to devalue your stuff to zero, because it just
precisely depreciation again becomes a non-issue.
And the building and the property are steady.
Yes,
it's just the equipment that will have that fluctuation.
Yeah, and anyone that's concerned that that won't come to pass, it has to. They have to replace that equipment, because these chips and these memory modules and everything there has a service life, and they have, in order to remain reliable, they have to be replaced.
And just so you know, DC Blocks got an abatement for the property. They did not get an abatement for the equipment.
Right. And
quite frankly, there they are paying taxes.
Yeah, and it's the equipment that's actually the majority of where the majority of the revenue comes from.
Yes.
Of course, the property and the land has a much higher value now, but it's the equipment that generates the majority of that revenue. And that's constantly being turned over, so it's going to be a constant source of revenue.
Yeah, it will be, right? It will be a constant source of revenue. And Alex, I think we mentioned something here too. Is like, I was at a meeting last night, and people were worried about, well, how long are these things going to last? And I think when you and I met with the Public Service Commission Chairman Jason Shaw the other day, and he highlighted something that they make that Georgia Power goes into a 15-year agreement with these data centers.
Correct.
So they're on the hook paying these electric bills for 15 years.
Right.
I mean, they're going to pay 1%. So, so they to sign a contract like that, you've committed for long term.
Yeah, you're not planning. Yeah, you're not planning on going anywhere. I actually have some numbers real quick to support, to back up what I just said. There are, based on 4 new Metro Atlanta data centers, the land was valued at $26 million per complex pre-development. After development, the value added just from servers and the electrical equipment for those same 4 sites, $1.8 billion. So from 26 million to 1.8 billion dollars just from the equipment, Larry. Yeah, depreciation is not going to be a concern, I don't think.
No, it's not going to be a concern. I mean, like I said, and just with that continuous replacement and upgrade, and then I think it's even more than replacement, Alec. I think it's upgrade, because because of the advancements in technology and the different things that come down the pike. It probably will even be, hypothetically talking, on even a more escalated scale than 5, because if technology advances, then they want to
keep up, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, those are some of the benefits. I know people are dug in, right? A lot of people have made up their mind, or a handful of people, I should say, have made up their mind. They think that these data centers are going to destroy communities regardless. And the thing is, there's plenty of real world data to look at to show that simply isn't true. And there's plenty of real world data to look at to see the realized benefits to the taxpayers and residents of these communities. I'll touch on it very quickly. Home values.
Yes.
I'll point once again to the George Mason University study in Northern Virginia that showed that homes closer to data centers sold for higher prices than the homes further away from data centers. Integra Realty Resources did a study in Indiana, and in Indiana, they found that there was no significant difference in home values and home value appreciations between homes near data centers and the rest of the market. This depreciation of home values has not materialized from data centers. Even though you'll hear it, you'll see it, if you go and actually look at the data, that hasn't happened. In St. Joseph County in Indiana, in fact, the homes close to Amazon's new Carlisle data center, they rose in value by 49% versus 32% countywide.
I talked to some investors, and they made the same comment about data centers here in Rockdale County, that they would offer more per acre if it was adjacent to the data centers than they would if it was 5 miles away.
Right.
And it's because of the potential of those adjacent, those industry related businesses would want to move or build. So there's where you go, right? So it is what it is, and I think that just things that people say. They say things without really putting any thought into it or backing it up.
The readily available data shows that home depreciation has not materialized because of data centers. Is there any other benefit you want to touch on?
No, Al, I think when we look at this, right, and I think we've done the show, and we addressed all the concerns. And in my opinion, when we addressed all these concerns, they are legitimate concerns for people to have but they can be mitigated and they're minimal. Then when we look at what this could do for this county tax-wise and for homeowners and for the school system and for the community in whole, to me, there's no choice of what the decision that should be made.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is heavily, when somebody does a piece of paper and say, do your pros and cons, it is heavily balanced to the pros, in my opinion, when we look at what this investment would do to this county. That's my opinion.
I agree. I think the pros far outweigh the cons. The potential here is enormous. The won't even touch on the grid expansions being funded by private, a once in a lifetime opportunity to have our electric grid beefed up and expanded and not at our expense.
Chairman Shaw, actually, I love his phrasing of that. He said a generational opportunity.
Yeah, generational opportunity. Those are some of the benefits available to Rockdale and Rockdale taxpayers, assuming that this all comes to pass, and assuming that the government are good stewards of our money. There could be enormous benefits to everyone, to government, to the taxpayers, to the school systems, to our infrastructure, across the board. This could be a huge boon for Rockdale County. Now we just have to see whether we're willing to allow it to happen.
And then on the live show, Al, I think we'll talk a little about that.
We will. Larry, that's it for our series. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you. Of course, thank you to all the guests that were willing to come on. And trust me, that was not easy. But we thank them for their time and for their, for putting themselves out there. Because, again, very contentious, heated debate at the moment. Hopefully people get some value out of this. And you may, as things progress, you may see the occasional video added to this. But for now, that's it. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
So yeah, that was it. The last in the series. Again, all of these are now available for ease of use. They're available on YouTube at This Week in Rockdale. There's a playlist set up. You can view them in order. You can share them. You can share the whole list. You can share them individually. That's entirely up to you. Now we have to see, like I said, now we have to see whether we allow this to happen in Rockdale, Larry.
Yeah, now it's up to government, and we say, well, are we going to allow it to happen? At that meeting I was at the other day, they talked about in the last 20 years, we've not allowed 2 separate colleges to come to Rockdale County.
Right.
Two separate colleges not to come to Rockdale County.
Right.
We've not allowed several other businesses to come to Rockdale County.
Mm-hmm.
And,
we've driven businesses out of Rockdale County.
Yeah, that's happened also. Businesses have been driven out of Rockdale County, Al. And then, we've just got to look at some point, people quit coming and they quit asking.
Well, people develop a perception of Rockdale, right? Business and industry, they begin to develop a perception of Rockdale. What is that perception right now?
And I know the perception. I heard it the other day. The perception is Rockdale County is a not friendly business county.
It's a hostile environment for business.
Hostile environment for business.
Yeah.
That is the perception that is Rockdale County.
Yeah. Bucky's just found that out.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If we want to flip that tax digest if we do want to take the onus off of residential property taxpayers, we can't afford to be viewed that way. And when I say we can't afford, I mean it literally, not metaphorically. We literally cannot afford the dollars and cents to be viewed that way by the business community. And right now, that's how we're viewed.
Well, you know, Al, the Buc-ee's was a unique situation if that would have been allowed to happen, because that would have been SPLOST and host dollars would immediately been impacted by those sales taxes. I mean, you rarely get the opportunity to increase those things by the percent that would have been increased on each of those penny taxes.
Right.
And that's just, you know, and that would have been 200 to 300 jobs that are, you know, $40 to $100,000 a year.
With that location, it would have been closer to 500. With the
that was going to be one of the super
one of the super Buc-ee's. You know, here the people. I don't know why. I'm not sure where this perception came from. But the people that are this hostile to business seem to think that we can pick and choose who comes into Rockdale, right? They want a Whole Foods. They want these high-end retailers. They want high-end businesses. But we don't have a community that can sustain that, is the problem. Now, that could change, but it's a catch-22. It's a chicken and the egg, right? We have to be less opposed to people moving into Rockdale in order for Rockdale to grow, in order for Rockdale to be the kind of community that can sustain these places.
You know,
right now we are not that.
Mary made a comment here just now. I want to address it. She said it appears to be the BOC that appears to be hostile to business, not the resident. And I'm going to disagree. It's both.
It's both, precisely.
It is both, because the BOC follows lead of the citizens who come there and protest.
Right? Yeah.
Anything that wants to move to this county.
Just look at this issue alone. In a county of 90,000 people, maybe 50 show up to a public meeting on data centers. They get loud and boisterous and they raise hell. And this board of commissioners kowtows to them. And when I say this board of commissioners, we had, I'm factoring in Doreen Williams there, even though she lost. Because before she lost, she immediately came out and said, I won't vote for another data center in Rockdale. You know what I mean? We've now got a chairman who is she can speak for herself. Quite frankly, she can speak for herself. But from talking to her, my perception is that she does not want to move forward with any more data centers. And that's simply because she thinks that just because these people got loud and got in her face, she thinks that now she has to oppose data centers. And that's going to cost her at the ballot. That's going to cost her at the polls, because after
tax dollars, because people are still going to be paying high taxes.
Yeah.
And if they're paying these taxes in 28,
you're
not
done.
Going to get back in office.
Yeah, you're not going to get reelected. You can't turn away Buc-ee's and then turn away the only other people that are knocking on our door. No one else is knocking on our door that will bring this kind of revenue. And what are they looking at? They're looking at they're looking at a convention center.
And now you can't do that and build which I hear the budget's $175,000 now. You can't build that.
Million, you mean?
Have 175 million, have these high taxes and think you're going to be okay. We just had an election. The incumbent was not okay.
Right.
And that was the scenario. High taxes and that courthouse and a courthouse administrative complex. People do not like that. And that's going to be an eyesore that sits there forever. And if you were associated with it, you might not get back in office.
Right. Right. We turned down Buc-ee's for a convention center. A convention center, and if traffic, by the way, if traffic was the justification for that, they don't think a convention center is going to bring traffic?
I don't even think we turned it down for a convention center. I don't think they have anything scheduled to go there, because if they did, they should be able to talk about it.
Well, they should, yes. Yeah.
Because I don't like this hiding behind this NDAs and these make-believe codes.
Yeah.
That they got. I mean, let me just tell you, they just don't want to talk about it because it makes them look bad.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. They never actually confirmed when we first talked about the Buc-ee's, we talked about the other options that were on the table, but they never actually confirmed any of those options publicly. I know the convention center was absolutely under consideration from private conversations, but they never confirmed it publicly. I'm going to go out, I'm going to assume, and yeah, this is an assumption, I'm going to assume that option is still on the table. It's not going to bring any revenue to Rockdale. It's not going to generate any noticeable tax revenue to help lower our property tax bills. And yet we have people knocking on the door of our community who want to come here and do business, who have the potential to eliminate property taxes entirely. And this Board of Commissioners and a handful of people in this community seem hell-bent on making sure that doesn't happen. Well, if that's the case, I will be hell-bent on making sure none of these people get reelected. Simple as that. If they're going to screw us out of yet another opportunity, I'm going to screw them out of their cushy taxpayer-funded jobs.
I stood up at Rhonda Taylor's town hall last Saturday, point blank said that, if we got these data centers here, I went 100% as an elected official on one of the boards here, support Rhonda Taylor introducing legislation that these tax benefits come first.
Right. Got a question.
It's just like they had to happen in Covington. Got to be through local legislation.
Yeah. Going to go through some of these questions here. When we were talking about shifting revenue, playing games with the host. Clayton asks, can you speak to the SPLOST dollars being vulnerable to shifting? Do you think they are?
No, not right now. They're not. Because they, that's sort of set in stone now. They got set projects they can do. But what I do understand is they've got 8 fire trucks on the wish list right now, and they're all over $1 million a piece. So that's what they want to spend, all the money on fire trucks. And, and I argue with people about this all the time. I come from a place that's much more rural than this, that we didn't have a fire station on every corner. They were able to man it with, volunteer fire departments and stuff. They were very creative. I think we personally have too many fire stations, too much fire equipment for a county this size. That's my opinion now, right? I've been all over America, and this is densely populated fire for the lack of fire that we have here. Most of our stuff that we have that they respond to are vehicle accidents, and we could change how we do that with responding to vehicle accidents and not send a fire truck to every single one.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
We could buy smaller vehicles that are a lot less expensive, put a few EMTs in them, and not send ladder trucks and engines to accidents.
I agree. It's always struck me as a bit ridiculous that the fire department shows up to a minor fender bender. It's a remarkable waste of resources.
But that doesn't happen trust me, this is rare. This does not happen all over America. Mm-hmm. Does not.
Yep. Cheryl asks,
it is a waste of resource.
how many employees does Meta have? And on an average size warehouse, what would Google bring employment? So Meta and Google, they're running data centers, right? Their employment numbers are going to be roughly similar to other data centers. If you're talking about say an Amazon distribution warehouse, they'll hire anywhere from 800 anywhere up to 1,500 people for a distribution center. They are far lower. They're lower. I'm not going to say far lower. They're lower wages than the data center jobs, but obviously there are more of them. That also means that there's way more traffic. Think about all and not just, it's heavy traffic. It's semi trucks and large delivery vehicles, things like that. These warehouses, look, I'm not saying that they're bad for a community necessarily.
There's just a lot of traffic.
But we're in a community where they thought Buc-ee's was going to bring in too much traffic. So a warehouse would bring in way too much traffic for this board of commissioners.
From what I've heard with these data centers, Al, I've heard numbers like average of 25 to 40 per building.
Yes.
25 to 40 employees per building. I've heard that's the average, is what I have heard the average is for a data center.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I've heard. And I think that's what the industry standard might be that they need for these things.
Yeah. When's the axe going to go down on the? Well, I mean, it's just kind of an evolving situation. There are data centers that are already in the works, right? That have been Rockforge, I think, has a rezoning hearing coming up here. I don't know when. Do you know when their rezoning hearing's going to be?
You're hearing that happens in July.
In July.
Yeah, it happens in July. But this thing about it is, I understand they have vested rights on the properties.
Yeah.
So it's not as cut and dry as people think it is. I mean, if the stuff gets denied and they've got vested rights, I mean, they've got property rights.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be litigation. And this is also what I've heard. Let's just say at the end of the day, they don't get that data center there. There will be 400 homes going there. And there's nothing anybody can do about it because it is currently zoned that can happen. Yep. So you either get a data center or you're going to get 400 high density homes. That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
Point blank.
Yeah.
And the same people that are fighting these data centers fought these homes. They'll just change gears, go try to think they can fight these homes, and they can't. Yeah. And it's just like they think they're still fighting DC blocks.
Yeah. Well, those 50 or so people fighting this, they have a solution. Pool your money and buy the land. That's your option. Pool your money and buy the land. I don't know that you'll be able to pay the same amount of money that a data center developer or a large subdivision developer is willing to pay, but that's how you prevent it from happening. Other than that, shut the fuck up.
Well, my issue is property owners' rights. Okay. Where does a community's rights and a property owner's rights, where do those start and end? Right. I mean, if it's my property and I want to develop it, who are the people somebody who lives on the other side of the county coming over here telling me I can't develop my property? And as far as that go, who is it anybody's right to tell me I can't develop my property?
Well, especially some Marxist organization like the PSL marching into Rockdale County, thinking that they can they can override our individual property rights.
Yeah, no. I mean, and this is what bothers me the most about this whole thing is I may not agree with everything people want to do, right? But at the end of the day, if they bought the property and they intend on doing something with it,
well, and if
our right to stop it.
And if our ordinance allows for it, they have a legal right to do it. And that's the issue with the data centers that are currently under development in Rockdale, where the process is started. Regardless of what changes they make to the UDO, these are processes that have already been put into the works. They've received certain assurances and certain commitments. If those fall through, it's going to cost us a fortune because we will get sued. This board of commissioners will get us sued.
Well, we got sued over the QT, and that's why we own that property at Sigmund Road right now.
Right.
Well, Bill Campbell mentioned, he said Project Rockforge for 300 jobs. Do the math. There's supposed to be 7 buildings. That comes to 42 employees a building.
Yeah.
So it's right at that number, the high end number of what data shows that you may end up being, you know. And then I want to say something else too. When we talk about data centers, there is usually a data center campus, and on the campus there's more than one building, and that's what when we talk about over at DC Blocks, they have one operational building right now on their campus. Mm-hmm. There has always been multiple buildings approved for DC Blocks on that piece of property. So these are not additional data centers that have been approved. This is the same project, and it's a data center campus, and there were X number of buildings that were originally approved to be built on there, and that's what they're doing. They could build up to X number of buildings is what they were approved to do. Yeah. It's not just one building.
Besides DC Blocks, who else is in the queue prior to the moratorium? Well, Rockforge.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, there's the Irwin Bridge, and isn't there one up on?
Yeah, but I think there's not another one. That, from what I gather, the developer decided to not do the third property. So the only one is the Sigmund Road Irwin Bridge. I mean, I think that's still the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the only. There's only one more in the pike, from what I understand. Yeah.
Vuko says, I was told, well, we have 2 points. Cheryl said, so it's official that Buc-ee's is not coming to Rockdale. And Vuko says, I was told Buc-ee's is not a dead deal yet.
Well, I've been told by some developers that it is a dead deal. And I have put it out here on this show that if the county wants to contradict that, they can.
Right.
And I've put it out here on
they're
this show.
They're more than welcome to comment.
Yeah, and I've put it out here on this show that I've heard that they killed it because they didn't want the traffic, which that came from reliable sources. All this came from sources that I would consider reliable. Okay.
Yeah. Now, I haven't heard the I heard the traffic one from you. Yep. I've heard another thing. And I've had it confirmed by 2 people. The chairman did not. I will tell you, our chairman did not confirm it. I'm not going to say what it is just yet because I'm still digging. The chairman did not confirm it, but two other people, one of which is in Rockdale County government, have confirmed it.
It's an ordinance.
I will keep looking at. No, it's. They're using specific statutes and ordinances to avoid giving me information is what they're doing there. To whatever's happening, they're hiding behind some specific statutes. I again, until I can't confirm it 100% yet, but we shall see. We shall see. If what I've been told is true, nothing's going to happen to that property. Nothing whatsoever will be done with it.
Yeah, and that's part of what I've heard too, right? I've heard that too. But, you know, I think before that even happened, Al, they killed the deal.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Before that even happened, they killed the deal.
Again, hostile to business.
Well, you know, the other day I found it amazing, you know, was talking about something a little different here. The people that used to own Costly Mill, one of the owners was actually at a board of commission meeting the other day complaining about the dismal upkeep of the property.
Yeah. I find that a little bit distasteful, quite frankly, for the Bowmans to sell that at quite honestly,
premium.
rather inflated value. And then to come back and make the try to make the case that we, the taxpayers of Rockdale, aren't spending enough money there. We aren't, you know, we haven't invested enough in salaries to keep that property in a manner the Bowmans became accustomed to.
You know what I would like to do with that property out? You know what I'd like to do with that property?
Sell it.
I would like to retreat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just let it grow up and let it be a wild refuge.
Mm-hmm.
Let it go back to wilderness.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't need it.
Yeah. And let people use it without gates and hours. You know what I mean?
If it's going to be it's not a real park.
No. It whatever. It's a money pit. Right now, it's simply a money pit.
It was never this destination thing. You know, it was ill-conceived to believe that it was going to be a destination location,
mm-hmm.
right? And like I said, we don't let a couple of colleges come here. We don't let some other businesses that want to come here, but we go buy that,
right,
and sink money into that, which has no opportunity of doing anything.
Right.
We make a skate park and complain because graffiti gets put on it.
Yeah.
Al, just asking a question. Isn't that sort of what people that skate and do that, don't they? A lot of those guys do that tagging, right? Part of their culture, right? What they do.
I mean, all you have to do is go and look at any other skate park in the Western world, and you would have known it was going to get graffitied. You would have known. And listen, sometimes we don't elect the best and the brightest, I suppose.
Well, you know, Al, and then right down the road from me, you know, we've got this Lorraine Trailhead Park, and they get the bright idea, put that canoe dock thing down there with that floating thing, and you know, and I asked them before they even did. I said, "You do know that's not going to handle that water that comes there, because when it floods there, it floods, and it's going to wash that away." Well, it washed it away twice.
Right.
You know, I mean, and I knew it was going to wash it away before it did it the first time.
Right.
Especially when I saw that design they did.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, that ain't going to happen." But then they get upset when citizens like us question these decisions, right? And we're not being fair. We're being too critical. Well, a lot of times we're not critical enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know how many people you can afford to turn away and keep your job. That's where I'm at right now. I don't know how many opportunities for tax relief you get to just, you know, whack-a-mole and expect to keep your job the next time it comes up for election.
I agree, Al. I agree 100%. Well, I think we've done a good series here. I think we've put some information out there. It's up to people now to get a hold of commissioners and tell them, we want tax relief, and do what you have to do to get us tax relief.
Yeah.
And let's bring data centers.
Yep.
And it's up to citizens like,
yeah, now it's up to you.
Watch the show.
The people who are opposed to these things, they are very loud and very vocal. If you want to see the benefits and the tax relief that comes from data centers, it's now up to you to get loud and vocal. You fight fire with fire. And let these elected officials know that if they drive this opportunity away, they themselves will be driven out of office.
I agree, Al. I agree 100%. So, I mean, I'm just going to let everybody know that I'll be on next week with Speak Your Mind, and I will have Councilwoman Sherry Washington on talking about data center. And we're also going to talk about other projects that she would like to see happen in the city of Conyers.
Mm-hmm. Good. I'll be tuned in for that. All right, Larry, thank you very much. Enjoyed it. Again, folks, you can just remember you can head over, find the entire series now over on YouTube, where it's much easier to find. You don't have to hunt through my Facebook page to try and find these videos anymore. So you can go do what you want with them, share them, or you know, whatever it is you want to do. That's it. I'm gonna let you go, Larry. I'm gonna go watch England get beaten up by Mexico.
You go for it, man.
Yeah, man.
Later, bye.
Guys,
Later, guys.
thanks for watching. Well, Larry will see you next week.